Welcome everybody to another I didn't commit murder, Your Honor, episode of Lockdown 23 and 1. That's right, today I got an update on the 4 correctional officers that were charged with the Florida inmate's death. We covered this story when it first broke, and I remember saying to myself, man, someone has to pay the price for this one. And so they did, but not all of them. You ain't can believe the turn of events in this story. So let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Not to mention I got a couple other ones coming your way. But first, as always, if you're new to the channel and enjoy all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. So I'm going to begin by reading this article, and then I'm going to give you my 2 cents along the way. And like I said, this one has a crazy turn of events. It says 3 Miami-Dade correctional officers were sentenced to 20 years in prison. Christopher Rowland, Kirk Walton, and Jeremy Godbolt were 3 out of the 4 officers arrested in connection to the death of a 60-year-old Ronald Ingram, who was found dead with more than 20 broken ribs and internal bleeding. 20 broken ribs. I don't even know how many ribs we got, but that sounds like it's just about all of them. I can't even imagine getting 20 of these things broken. You wouldn't even be able to breathe, man, all that swelling. If I were to guess, of course, I'm not no medical professional or nothing. But continuing with the article, and something that I like to ask y'all that could be debatable. It says that prosecutors claim that the officers were upset that Ingram threw urine on them. What would you do if you were a deputy with 3 other deputies with you, and this guy right here hits you with a bag of his finest urine? Believe it or not, a lot of people probably wouldn't be able to compose themselves. I know one thing, I'd definitely clean it up immediately. And second of all, I ain't gonna be beating nothing, because I ain't trying to be where he's at. You would think these guards see the lifestyle that they could be facing if they do anything crazy, and it would deter them from doing it. But it doesn't. As you can see, they're beating people to death regardless. Even after working in such a dark place, they still choose to commit crimes. But let's continue with the article. Like I said, there's a crazy turn of events. And deputies, correctional officers out there, all y'all, man, better listen up. Your homies might not be your homies after all. Just like gang members, convicts, when people start getting football numbers, they start talking, brushing all the blame on others besides themselves. And it usually works out for them, but not this time. Now the article continues saying, "I'm not guilty of murder, I'm not guilty of murder," said Walton from the inmate gallery as he tried to convince a judge to not sentence him to 20 years and urge for her to withdraw his plea deal.
I'm not guilty of murder. I'm not guilty of murder, and I'm gonna move on this whole case.
I'm not guilty of murder, said ex-corrections officer Kirk Walton as he tried to convince a judge to not sentence him to 20 years in prison.
I wanted to do a trial, and at a number of times I told him I wanted to do a trial.
You know you're at the end of the road if you're saying, please, I don't want to go with this plea deal no more. People usually take the plea deals because they think that's their best possible route for the shortest amount of time in prison possible. But this, if you're to ask me, are the type of situations that not just ex-deputies, I'm talking about anybody that's going through the court process. This is one of the worst case scenarios if you take a plea deal. It says Walton, Godbolt, and Rowland accepted a deal earlier this year in exchange for their testimony in the trial of a 4th officer, Ronald Connor. Right, so they took a plea deal probably with a cap of 20 years. All 3 of them probably said, we're going to snitch on the 4th deputy and they'll cut us a good deal. There is no way they're going to give us the full 20. Well, think again. It says after hearing Walton, Godbolt, and Rowland's testimony and all of the evidence, jurors acquitted Connor of murder and only found him guilty of negligence. Connor is a free man. Connor's a 4th deputy, keep that in mind. The 4th deputy that the other 3 deputies tried to roll on. They decided to take an easy route, a plea deal, because they were too scared to take it to jury. Look, scared money don't make money. That's what a lifer told me back in the day at the prison poker table, right? And that 4th deputy, if you were to ask me, he was willing to risk it. Take it to jury, man. You better bring your A game. And obviously, even with 3 other deputies testifying against him, it didn't work. They're probably sitting in that cell right now drunk as hell. Not literally though, you know, inmates say drunk meaning just can't believe what happened. But I love to see not only deputies be held accountable, but snitches get smoked more than the person they're trying to snitch on. Oh man, that's glorious. Very rarely do you see that, y'all, so this is kind of like an astronomical event. Either way, man, Inmate Ingram, I don't know exactly what he was in there for. I know I covered a story on this in the past. I probably broke it down in that one, but actually I found it right here. It says Ingram back in 1985, a year before I was born. Homeboy committed a murder and got sentenced to life in prison. So he's been down a long time. And now, unfortunately, even though he passed away, a lot of people would say he's finally free. But also, you know, a lot of people probably saying after I read the charges that he was in there for, he got what was coming to him. You know, he was in prison for taking a life and eventually got his taken as well. That would make it even worse for me if I was a deputy, knowing that someone that was already sentenced to life for killing someone, probably an innocent individual, just got me 20 years in prison and I wasn't even the main culprit. You know, that's probably what a few of them are saying. And that's what would definitely make you drunk and in shock, sitting in that cell like, man, how did I land here for the next 20 clip? How, man? I thought I was just helping my homeboys. Correctional officers, deputies, man, you see someone laying hands on an inmate, you better run far away. I'm not telling you to go snitch on them, just get the hell out of there. Don't want to be caught up in that mix, man. You will go down. There's no honor amongst thieves or deputies or correctional officers. There's no honor out there at all when people start throwing around 20, 40 years in prison. I can assure you that. Now for the next story, we're jumping back into one of the worst prison systems known to man, Alabama. That's right, I probably won't never even visit that state just because of their prison system. I ain't risking it. I'm just playing, I'd visit it, but I'd be very, very careful. Either way, this story is about another inmate losing their life. Of course, we've covered so many from this state, it's unreal. It says a 72-year-old man was killed in an inmate-on-inmate assault inside the Macon County Jail. The suspect, Daniel Pollard III, 24 years old, from Tuskegee. His life is absolutely ruined. If I were to guess, he probably didn't mean to kill this guy. But who knows, maybe he did, you know? Whenever you get into a situation with an elderly guy, especially in prison, man, just let it slide. But there are those guys that are right on that level. They're old, but they act and look very vibrant, younger than what they appear. Young enough for a 24-year-old to put hands on them kind of look. And I've seen those old heads actually win. I remember there was this one cat, man, old guy, man, he had fists like, I don't know, bricks. Because I used to dap him up after card games and stuff, and I'm like, man, I hate to get hit by one of his hands, but he was an older guy and we called him Ric Flair. He was always uppity, man, just like Ric Flair from wrestling. He got into a situation because a guy owed him a deck of cards. He didn't get it for him, so they handled it in the gym. Old man put hands on that young buck, and the young buck was big. But at the same time, he was only like 59, maybe 60, not 72. It's prison, man. Inmates don't discriminate. They're angry as it is to begin with, man, locked away. So you could have a terminal illness, a disability, or very old. If you cross a certain line with certain people, they're gonna put hands on you or take your life. Anyways, the attack happened at 9:30 a.m. Tuesday inside the jail's holding cell, said Lieutenant Jeremy Burkett. Pollard is charged with the murder. The charging documents state that he fatally kicked and hit Reed in the head. And when they say kick him, if I were to guess, he didn't do no kind of taekwondo stuff. He kicked him when he was already on the ground. When you stomp on someone's head or kick them in the head when they're down, especially an elderly guy, man, you gotta expect him not to be waking back up. So with this individual, man, he either let the rage get to him, he did one too many blows, or he just intended to kill that man. I don't know. One thing's for sure and two things is for certain. It doesn't matter your age. You can get got in prison. And second of all, not even prison. Jail, as you can see, it was in a holding cell. They were probably getting transferred to go to court or something. Maybe just got in there. Had a simple dispute and it was go time. Pollard made his first court appearance Wednesday where he was appointed a lawyer due to mental health impairment. So who knows, depending on that situation, he might not even see any serious time for that, at least in prison. Probably go to some kind of psych ward if it is some kind of mental issue. But since we're in Alabama, let me close it out here. Just with a few images. They say that this is possibly going to remedy a lot of the situations happening in the Alabama prison system. You know, the understaffing in those old prisons that are falling apart. Well, if you didn't know, Alabama Department of Corrections Commissioner John Hamm gave an update Wednesday on the construction of the $1.25 billion 4,000-bed prison in Elmore County. $1.25 billion. And when I see this prison, it makes me think of something that I said they're probably going to implement over here in the States. Mega prisons. Like 20, 30 years down the road, they'll probably have 8 prisons for the whole country. And these prisons will be the size of a city, and people from all over the country will go there. And with that being done, it would close down all these other prisons in every state. That's what I predicted after we reacted to that mega prison in El Salvador. I said if things go good over there, chances are it will probably come down the pipeline. But when I see images like this, 1.25 billion for a prison, you know, I can only see it getting bigger and more expensive in the future. And I'm not going to read the list of updates on how the build is going. Just know that it's going. I'm sure they're going to have a really good prison tour video when it's open. And you know me and all y'all are going to be walking through it with our little hard hats. But I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen. And look, I do apologize if the consistency with my content has kind of been slacking. Taking like 2-day breaks sometimes. I know that's extreme, isn't it? For me it is, believe it or not. Some people take vacations for like a week at a time. I can't do it. Couple days of relaxation with the family, drop some content for y'all, and then get back out there with the family again. That's how I like to do it. Balance everything out, because believe it or not, y'all are pretty much my family. I mean, some of y'all in the comments I talk to every day. Might not see you in person, but I see your digital profile, man, and that means a lot. I don't want to let y'all down, just like I don't want y'all to let me down. But stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. I got plenty more content coming your way. In the meantime, as always, y'all be easy, be safe, and more importantly than anything, stay free.